My name is Patrick J. McGinnis, and I coined the term FOMO. That's short for fear of missing out, and it's why some people end up following the crowd. But we're not like them. We're part of a new species that isn't afraid to do things differently. I call us FOMO Sapiens. And this is the show where you'll meet people like us, phenomenal FOMO Sapiens, to learn how they find the courage and the ideas to live exceptional lives. FOMO. FOMO. Hey everybody, welcome back to FOMO Sapiens, the show for people who don't just follow the crowd, but instead take their own path to success in business and in life. I'm your host, Patrick J. McGinnis, venture capitalist by day, author and podcaster by night, and as you well know, FOMO Sapiens 24/7. And today I have a very special guest, the great Agapi Stassinopoulos, who I met this year in New York City, actually at a party for somebody's wedding. We got to chatting. I got some copies of her books in the mail. Actually, I picked them up at her house. She lives not too far from my house. I started looking at them. I started listening to her meditations, and I just realized all of us need a little bit more Agapi in our lives. And so what we're going to do is talk to Agapi. This is a two-parter because you just can't keep Agapi in one episode. I had her come to my house, actually. She came over to the house. I even got some nice baked goods. And we just chatted, and it just turned into two really special episodes that I'm so excited to share with you. Now, Agapi is a best-selling author and speaker who inspires audiences around the world. She is the author of Wake Up to the Joy of You, 52 Meditations and Practices for a Calmer, Happier Life, and Unbinding the Heart, a Dose of Greek Wisdom, Generosity, and Unconditional Love. And she was trained in London at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and received her master's degree in psychology from the University of Santa Monica. She teaches meditation and facilitates workshops for Thrive Global, a company founded by her sister, Arianna Huffington, and that is changing the way that we live and work. It's amazing. What a family. You got Arianna, you got Agapi, Arianna, two people who just are total FOMO sapiens, and it's just kind of amazing. Now, Agapi was raised in Athens and divides her time between New York and LA. And here is what you're going to learn in this conversation. First of all, Agapi's life story is just awesome. She's so interesting. She's done a little bit of everything. As you saw, she studied dramatic arts. She was an actress. She is now an author and speaker and expert on a million things. And so that's going to be really fun just to hear her journey and hear how that journey took her to waking up and awakening, as it were, to the spiritual world, the spiritualism in her life. We're going to talk about why people are not connecting with eternal wisdom. You know, Agapi, in your interview, you'll see she connects things back to the Greek gods and goddesses. But nowadays, unfortunately, people are forgetting about these eternal sources of wisdom, whether it's, you know, that kind of stuff or world religions or just a million kind of things that have been figured out and shared with us, but we're not focusing on them. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about her new book, Speaking with Spirit, which she wrote during the pandemic in an isolated fashion, which was really hard, and what she learned in the process of writing Speaking with Spirit. Now, we will finish this interview next week, but I would like to, before we get the interview, obviously do my little ask. And my little ask is this: share this with somebody who would enjoy it. Agapi is eternal wisdom. She really is. You're going to see in a minute. And so there's a lot of people out there who need a little wisdom. So share this episode with somebody and tell them to listen. All right, and now we are going on to the interview. And as usual, I start my interview with exactly the same question. And Agapi did not escape me. The question is this: what's a formative decision you've had to make to get to where you are today?
Oh, Patrick, it's so good to be with you. And I'm so glad we're doing this in person, because to me, the human contact, there's just nothing like it. You know, and during the pandemic, we all suffered the absence of that. And we can never take it for granted, you know. So the most formative decision I made was incarnating here, coming back on the planet Earth. When I was 23 years old, you know, I was raised and born in Greece, Athens, Greece. And I went to London when I was 17 with my mother and my sister, Arianna. My sister actually was already there, and studied acting at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. So I was about 22 when I was hired to do a movie in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And it's through my sister and the producer that she met. And I went to LA, and it was just magnificent. I thought my destiny has just started. I'm going to be a star. I was starring in a movie. I got the part and met a lot of people, agents, producers. It was like an amazing, I was flown there. I was taken care of, staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And 2 months later, I think it was, the producer said to me that the movie fell through.
Oh.
And that the financing fell through, which is, a usual Hollywood story.
Yeah.
And he was my return ticket to London. And I remember at that time, I said to myself, I'm not ready to go back. I'm going to stay here. And I had no idea what my future or my life would be, because I was 23. I had, no green card, no permit to work in the country. I had hardly any money, apart from what my mom was sending me, to survive. I had a lot of friends because I knew how to make friends and people who loved me. And I even met a very nice man that I was seeing. And I said to him, I'm going to stay and not go back yet. I'll keep my ticket. And it was an incredible soul, intuitive inner guidance. And I decided to stay. I went and stayed with friends because I wasn't going to stay at the hotel anymore. And people said, please come stay with us. And at that moment, that choice led me to my spiritual awakening. It's a bit of a long story, so I won't say the whole thing because it's all in my books. And I've written endlessly. I've written about it in every single book. I write that story. I wrote Unbinding the Heart. I wrote it, Wake Up to the Joy of You, Speaking with Spirit. Each book tells the story from different perspectives. It's like when you're called to do something, but it's completely unknown to you. And through a series of events, through a friend who came and went to a spiritual retreat with an Indian guru, and meeting somebody who then invited me to her home, I ended up meeting my spiritual teacher, John Roger, who passed away 5 years ago, and I started to follow my spiritual path. But what happened at that time, Patrick, was that my soul, my heart wanted to awaken. And I kept reading endless spiritual books. Like, to me, one of my most profound awakening books was Autobiography of a Yogi. Mm-hmm. Have you read that?
I have it over there.
No, really? Oh my God. We should...
I have too many books, though I don't know where it is, but
Yes. Autobiography of a Yogi is a book that has awakened many people. Mm-hmm. And I was also doing 3 hours of yoga a day. Mm-hmm. You know what that does to your energy and your kundalini. I was very just yearning for an awakening. And they say that when... even yearning for God, if a yearning for spirit is a good thing, mm-hmm. Because there is more to life than this, and there is more to life than your story or who you think you are. And you know it, but you don't really have it in your palms of your hand. You don't really know it. You just want to have what I call an awakening to your spirit. So that really led me to that awakening, which was incredible. I mean, it was really a knowing that I am part of something larger. And again, as you know, Patrick, I very clearly explain in the book Speaking with Spirit that God is such a limited little word mm-hmm. to describe the infinite, so it doesn't matter what you call it. What we must understand is that God is not a being. It is a state of consciousness that is attainable to all of us at any moment. So you don't have to go anywhere. Like, I know you meditate, and it's like if you come back to your breath, if you come back to the awareness that you have 36 trillion cells that are making you and me right now and everyone that we meet, that everyone is a miraculous manifestation of something inexplicable and larger than we can possibly, our finite mind can describe, that in itself brings you to reverence. That in itself brings you down to your knees, as I say. It really kind of amazes me when, people say, I don't believe in spirituality. And I go, well, what else is there? I mean, it's like, who are you? I mean, I saw, both my parents die in front of, they take their last breath. And you're not this body.
Yeah.
And you realize that there is this other reality, but what each one of us must go through the journey to discover and unfold and open up our hearts. And often people say, I don't know where God is. And I go back to your heart. Who do you love? What do you love? What do you love about life? What do you love about yourself, about, your parents, maybe your children? If you don't have children, do you have siblings? Who do you love? And go there. And that loving is you. Because what most of us really, really want to know, we want to be loved, of course, and seen and matter, but we want to know that we have loving in us. Yeah. That we are loving. And for me, when through my spiritual journey and my retreats and the seminars and the University of Santa Monica that I did and studied spiritual psychology, I had a lot of forgiveness to do of how life with my parents wasn't exactly what I wanted. So we all have to heal parts of ourselves that have made our hearts shut down. My parents had a very turbulent marriage, and then my mother left my father and raised me and Ariana pretty much on her own. So that, I was 12, and that created a lot of trauma in me. So part of my spiritual work was to take little Agapi and raise her and love her. And this ring that you see here?
Yeah.
This is a ring I gave to myself 20 years ago. I married myself. And I had an inner bonding because the adult Agapi was going out into the world, making projects and producing movies and series, and my little Agapi had not healed, and she felt. I don't know if you've ever had this experience. Maybe you seem so integrated at the moment, which I love, but you see it a lot of, with people that they walk around and you feel they have a knot in their stomach.
Yeah.
And because they don't really feel they can be who they are in the world.
Yes.
And they say, well, I'm leaving that part of me, which is insecure and vulnerable and feels not quite together in the house. And I'm going out to march on and make things happen.
Right, you're putting on your costume.
Yes.
It's like Halloween. You're putting on the suit or the tie or the whatever.
The Superman.
And you're going out and you're putting a face on for the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know, because I did that when I worked on Wall Street. Every day I was like, here we go.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah, it is. It definitely, you feel like constrained. Emotionally, sure, but like there's a physical constraint. That's why I think the business suit is such a good, because it like holds you all. It holds it all together.
Yes, and women do it with, putting the outfits or we compare ourselves and we go into a room or a meeting and we don't feel good enough.
Yeah.
Which is so much of your message with FOMO. When you don't feel, it's I want to say that it's tragic that we are so unkind to each other.
FOMO. Well, the thing about it is, as I think about, I was listening to the beginning of this interview and I just kind of let you talk because you're meditating. So everybody, Agapi has these meditations. You can find them on Audible. What's the name of the meditation
It's Wake Up to the Joy of You 33 Meditations.
Yes.
And they're very short. Patrick, they're like 6 minutes and 7 minutes.
Yes.
And you asked me before the interview, how did I write them? I don't write them, I channel them.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I can absolutely download meditations. It's like you say to me, Agapi, can you do a meditation? I'm going to an interview right now. Can you do a meditation for me? I said, absolutely. And it boom, 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 it comes down. And the same thing with my prayers. I mean, my editor said, when I sent my book in of the draft of Speaking with Spirit, he said to me, I'm editing the chapters, but I'm not editing the prayers because they're perfect. And I dictate them on my phone. I dictate them to another person. I dictate them a lot, on my phone, and I tell them myself. I mean, so go
No,
ahead.
so anyway, so I when you started talking, I went in because I find your voice it's just, it's like meditative. So I was just listening. I'm like, wow, it's so great to have the meditation live. But I did want to comment. Something you said really struck me, which is, so many of us are raised in a religion or whatever. We live in a very secular world now. That's
Yes.
just the way it is.
Yes.
And yet there's all this ancient wisdom. And, there's kind of some thematic stuff. If you look at the different world religions and traditions, like there are general themes, sure. But, there's this funny thing that like, none of this is new. This is eternal wisdom. And yet so many of us are just not connecting with it or spending time with it. And this is stuff that has helped people to make it through the journey of life for thousands of years. And so and it's there for you and it's not complicated. And I'm not saying that I figured it out because it's a journey for everybody.
Yes.
But somebody asked me yesterday, I was talking to somebody about travel, and he
About
asked,
what?
Just traveling, and
Yes.
because I like to travel.
Yes.
And he said, well, when you travel the world, do you ever seek out the wisdom of the people and the places you're going?
Oh, wow.
Which I was like, whoa, that's a good question. And the reality is
beautiful.
probably not 20 years ago, but more and more today, because the places that you go where life is a bit quieter and simpler, people have a lot more space to think about these spiritual realms, and they're pretty happy. Maybe they don't have all of the fancy stuff,
Yes.
but on a day-to-day basis, the level of anxiety, which, the crushing anxiety that we have in our
God.
cultures, you don't see it. So I just, that made me, that's where I was going to in your meditation. I was like in that space. I would love your thoughts.
Yes, well, let me tell you a story that comes up to my mind that I love, and it's actually in my book, Unbinding the Heart. And I wrote that book, which is my third book. My first two books was about the Greek gods and goddesses.
Naturally.
And of course, you are the ultimate Hermes, the traveler, the messenger, the traveler who loves to travel.
Also like the ties, Hermes.
Yes, exactly. And Unbinding the Heart has my story and my mother's story of how she raised us and in Athens, Greece, and my awakening and the passing of my parents, my father asking for forgiveness to my mother before he left LA to go back to Athens. Just really beautiful, documented stories of my life. And one of them is called Nails. I think it's called Nails. I don't remember the exact chapter. Or Finding the Nails. So we were in outside Athens in a vineyard, and Ariana was being photographed for Town and Country magazine as the goddesses. And it was just quite the scene. I mean, it was like the amazing photographer, the makeup artist from France, the hairdresser from New York, the Town and Country editor. I mean, the crew, you can imagine. And we were at a tiny little, outside a tiny little village with a vineyard, a huge vineyard, and to do Dionysus, the god of the wine. And we wanted to put grapes on Ariana's face to make her look like Dionysus. And we were at a little hut of the guy who was taking care of the vineyard manager. And it was a tiny little home, very humble, with his wife and his daughter. And he didn't speak English, of course. And the photographer says to me, Agapi, could you please ask Mr. Vasilios if he has any nails so we can put the nails on the beams of the little veranda? And I say to him in Greek, do you have any nails? And he goes, nails. nails, nails. And she's looking around like as if she was going to manifest them from the sky. And Patrick, in 1 second, he leans down, he takes a stool and undoes the legs of the stool, and he produces 3 nails. And we had tears in our eyes, because that to me was the entrepreneurial spirit of the simple man who says, you want nails, I will make you nails. It's that gift of service. And I tell the story about how incredible it is when you summon up your spirit, your mind, your heart to say, you want this, I will find it for you. And my mother did that for us all her life. You want to go to the Royal Academy? I will find you the teacher who teaches you. Ariana, you want to go to Cambridge? We'll go to Cambridge and see how it is before you go there, so you have a visual in your mind of how it is. And I thought, Patrick, if we could do that for each other. If somebody says, I want to help my daughter go to work for this company, somebody said to me the other day, and that's her dream. And I said, let me see who I know, who I can call to introduce your daughter to. Somebody says, I don't have enough money for my kid to go to college. And you say, let me do a fundraiser for you. The human spirit thrives in serving. The mind and the heart and the body, you have to feed them. The spirit grows through giving.
FOMO. It's so true. And the challenge that we have today, and I'm sure you saw this article in the New York Times about how the pandemic and the isolation of the pandemic has played out, and the fact that, you can give remotely, of course, right? You can show up to somebody's Zoom birthday party. You can give to their GoFundMe or whatever.
Yes,
sure.
Yes.
But to actually give, it's very helpful to be with people, to be able to be in the same space with them. And, I'm curious, you wrote your new book, Speaking with Spirit. By the way, you're hearing this is live action in my apartment, even a siren outside.
I love it.
This is New York City, people. Speaking with Spirit, you wrote it during the pandemic.
Yes.
And talk about what that, I guess, how that influenced the work that you did in this book.
Incredible, because I was going through a real mental challenge. I was really feeling very isolated and exiled. And I'm Greek, so I'm an extrovert, and I'm Greek, so that makes me a triple extrovert.
Are there Greek introverts? That's what I want to know.
That's a good point. Oh my God, exactly. And so my whole MO is like, who can I connect? I mean, I get up in the morning and I'm going, let me call my best friend or my other friend, and let me connect. I'm like, let me hug someone. I'm a total connector, Yeah. So as you know, that's how you and I met. I mean, we were like, boom, boom, boom. We met with such energy.
Yeah, it was done right there.
Done, and it was so beautiful how that you are so open and so receptive. And I just want to say that one of your gifts that I see in you is that you really listen. My God, you are such a good listener.
Thank you.
And you listen with your whole being and presence. And you're not thinking of the next thing. You're just so present. It's incredible.
All the good stuff is happening right now.
Right now.
You got to stay in the moment.
Exactly. And, oh my God. So in the pandemic, I was living in LA at our home with my nieces and Ariana's assistant. And we were working there and doing all the Zooms and everything. And I cried my eyes out. I thought, this will never end. I was living... Obviously, there was fear. Obviously, there was the unknown. And I had this deadline to write this book. So I usually dictate my books because I'm a performer. I love to speak. So when I speak, it all comes out. I'm not a computer, sit down in the computer. Okay. And I encourage anybody who wants to write that doesn't like to write by sitting down and writing, dictate it on an app of dictation on your iPhone. Find a human being and say, write down while I speak. And I went up and down the street in our home and prayed and asked Spirit and God and the consciousness of the divine, the higher consciousness, to give me the words. And it was incredible, because what happened is right there I realized that although everything was taken, the Spirit was still alive and well. And I will just read you a little paragraph that, let me see, I think it's on chapter 7, Finding the Extraordinary in the Ordinary.
By the way, I want everybody to have a visual, because I have Agapi sitting with me. She has her wonderful book, Speaking with Spirit, 52 Prayers to Guide, Inspire, and Lift You, in front of her. And there are like 1,000 sticky notes.
Yes.
Which it's amazing, because you're so calm and so organized, and you come across, but then I know your secret sticky note habit now.
Sticky note habit, yes. Just like, so when I am doing a podcast or a Zoom, I can just open to the extraordinary. And I will just read to you that last paragraph of that, because I'm asking the Spirit, and I always say, come as you are to the Spirit. If you're sad, go into your sadness. If you are upset, if you're in pain, if you are insecure, say, I'm feeling insecure right now. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling grief. I'm feeling angry. Whatever it is, name it so you can tame it. So as you name it, you bring it to the table, and then you ask the other energy in you, which is the higher energy, and you say, I ask that I may find new ways to engage, move my body, be present in the miracle of my life, and awaken to the aliveness that I have in me. Because I was hurting, and I was asking that I may find the magic in the ordinary, that everything in this world, as hard as it might be, is still working. So then the Spirit speaks to me and says, my beloved, the trees still grow upward, and I'm able to walk on this earth through the law of gravity, and even that is a miracle. The earth still moves, and think of that. Right now, the earth, while you're listening to Patrick and me, the earth is moving slowly around the sun in perfect motion. And how amazing is that? There are invisible worlds of millions of stars and planets that are all moving in perfect relation to one another, and they don't seem to collide. The ocean meets the shore in perfect rhythm, and even when it's turbulent and stormy, let me wrap around my mind with this expansion of my heart and mind and soul around all of that universal intelligence that is so large, and know that I too have a perfect harmony within me.
What I love about that, I mean, a lot of things, but it made me, my big thought as you were reading that was how it's like the opposite of FOMO, because it's very much focused on the world as it exists today. Like, there are things happening, there are miracles everywhere around you, but when you're having a tough day or you're dealing with challenges, understandably, you lose sight of those things. And what these meditations do, and I can see how they can be helpful, really helpful, is that if you pick this up in the morning or in the evening, if maybe you're having a great day and this reinforces, but even if you're having a great day, we all know, like, the ideal status is to be able to acknowledge what it's great, but then remember that, there's a world out there. Acknowledge that it's a bad day, but remember the world goes on, and try to sort of live within a moderated space. Like, it's the detachment or the equanimity. That's the goal, right? And so this, I mean, I can see how this does that. FOMO. All right, FOMO Sapiens, that is the end of part 1 of my 2-episode interview with Agapi Stassinopoulos. We'll be back next week with the rest of the interview. And if you like this, it's even better. It's even better. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday for FOMO Mondays, and of course on Thursday with more of Agapi. And until then, take care of yourselves, FOMO Sapiens. FOMO. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis, on Twitter at PJ McGinnis, and on the web at FOMOSapiens.com or PatrickMcGinnis.com, where you can get all kinds of free resources to live a more decisive and entrepreneurial life. FOMO Sapiens is recorded in New York City. Theme music is by Mike McGinnis, and editing and post-production is by Josh Elstro. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me at FOMOSapiens.com and at PatrickMcGinnis.com. To advertise on FOMO Sapiens, reach out to contact@FOMOSapiens.com.
FOMO.